One of the questions that was asked about the development of the tank area, and I couldn't remember whether or not there was still toxic land or toxic earth or dirt in that area, so I want to bring that question to Mr. Alexander. It's a developable area, but if it costs billions or millions to clean up, it won't be worthwhile.
Excellent. The oil tanks owners were a tenant on federal lands, and they were required to do a site cleanup from any impact they had had on that site. So there was a site decommissioning done on that. Because the site was part of an industrial complex earlier, it's only, my understanding is the federal government required it only to be cleaned up to commercial industrial standards, which are typically not as clean as would be necessary for open space or residential uses. I don't know the details of that, of what level of new effort is required, but certainly if it were to be considered to approve or to move ahead with any proposal, any proponent would have to demonstrate the site meets the current standards with respect to those land uses. So partial cleanup has been done, or to clean up to a standard that was determined by the federal government to be the condition before the oil tanks went on. It is likely it has to have further cleanup, but the fact is significant amounts of cleanup have been done.
All right, cool.
One thing we said too regarding the area further east is that there are public green spaces right now. They're essentially ball fields and that sort of thing. And I think that no matter what happens, they should not be anything but public green spaces. If they're not needed for ball fields, there will certainly be other needs for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm still not sure who would like to comment from the back corner. And then we'll have Mr. Thibault up there. Go on.
I agree to take some notes. I think we agreed basically that the condo development or any development in the parking lot east of the pool is definitely not wanted. There was one of the things that I personally really appreciate is finding out today that there is going to be a ribbon along the entire waterfront area that cannot be developed. And this is one of the things that everybody at the table agreed that definitely has to stay in place. There is an area along the waterfront that absolutely nobody can touch and the public can use. The ball diamonds east of the pool, and there was some of the people were for developing that. Others, I think half the table agreed that it shouldn't be touched because it has such a long history of being there. And it's being supported by a number of service clubs in the area. I'm not from this area originally. I've been here for 15 years, and I didn't know the history. I didn't realize how long they had actually been there. So I may have even changed my mind during the meeting. The tank farm, it seems like most people feel that this is probably a good area to do some sort of development. We came to no conclusions as to what should go there, but if it were, you know, a commercial enterprise of some sort, then that seems to be okay. One question posed by Eric, he said, and that was just before we broke up, was what do you want along the waterfront that would attract people to come down to this area? And I think that's something we should all consider when we're doing those questionnaires. And you know, that's something I haven't given a lot of concern about right now, is that, like, what would attract people down here. And so I'm certainly going to give that some thought before I fill out my questionnaire. I'm definitely not going to turn it in today, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, after listening to the comments from all of the other tables, our table was much different. Everybody likes the ribbon. The idea of the ribbon, even making it larger than what's being suggested on some of the charts that are around the room, was supported by, I think, the whole table. More green space, the better. a gentleman just came up with an idea. He said, if you want to put anything down close to the river that will bring people down to have a look at it, he said, Wawa's got the big Canada goose, why don't we have a great big perch? As far as the parking lot area, the recommendation by everybody was that we don't have enough parking now for the civic complex. When we have events, even today, there was the issue of where to find parking, which is quite interesting because we have a lot of events that happen in this building and will continue to happen in this building that do require a lot of space. And the group felt that that it should stay as it is. There was a little bit of discussions about if it wasn't condos, what would it be? Well, you know, if anybody has any ideas of that nature, there's always a possibility of chatting and finding out different things. But the opinion on the table is leave it as it is and continue to find ways of being innovative in how you deal with your green space without impeding the area around the civic complex. Leave the ball diamonds alone. I think that everybody feels the same way about that. The area down in the east end where it says residential and so on, the feedback from the table from the majority was, well, it's in the plan, it's probably 20, 30 years down the road because when you're looking at cleaning it up and so on, if somebody did come up with some kind of an idea for the development of that property at some point in time, it would be something that would have to go through consultation process as well. Basically at the end of the day, next to this building, leave it alone. Down in the east end, we'll look at that when there are some plans, and right now there's no ideas and no plans for that. Plus it does have a lot of bad stuff in that ground there. And other than that, Milling Point and so on, I think with the developments that are happening around the port and so on, Milling Point most likely should be staying as green space and potentially some ways of getting access to that area so that people can get into that area. There's some plans that are on the shelf that are going to be looking at again by the committee, I'm sure, over the next one. So all in all, I think that we have a good idea of what the community thinks, listening to what you had to say today. And personally, I want to thank all of you for coming out on a day like today. You couldn't do any gardening, so it was a good place to hang out. And thank you very much.
Nice. Before we go back to general session, any further comments for John?
Just a couple of comments. One is about process, and it seemed from the discussion at our table that the idea of some development in the parking lot east of the complex came as a result of the city being approached by developers, and that's a bit worrisome if this kind of meeting comes as a result of some approach by people. I mean, that's what I was given to understand. I don't know what the background is, but I'm concerned if the committee is responding to the kinds of things that are outside the current approved plan.
So let's just check
So,
whether that's
Yeah, I
the case.
think we can clarify that.
Actually, what happens is somebody in the construction industry who doesn't build that type of building that was proposed, who thought that maybe somebody in the big leagues might be interested in doing something there. But there was no actual developer who came out and said, we would like to do something on that site. First of all, nobody knows the exact conditions of the site. Is it developable? What are the soil conditions like? There was an idea that was brought to a member of the committee, and then the committee member brought it to the group. And then the discussion started from there. The idea actually started from a local person who compared other communities with Cornwall and said, other cities have this, we don't have any of it, should we look at the possibility?
One person said that, and suddenly we're having a big meeting like this? One person?
I think it was the committee that took it from that.
One person brought something to committee, and away we go. Suddenly, out of nowhere, with a report that's dated 2007, and here we are, 2012?
I'm not sure what your question is. What?
I'm sure you don't understand. Just take it as a comment rather than a question, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think, I mean, in a sense, that's my point, that as something that's outside of the plan, I'm surprised that the committee wouldn't say, you know, it's not in the plan, let's not just take it any further. Anyway, that's the point I wanted to make about process and the way the committee works. Secondly, today was good. I think it's important to do this, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity to talk about the kind of things that we could do to bring some vibrancy to the waterfront. And so that's something that I would like to see some forum doing, because of course today maybe we're focused in a sort of polarized direction, and it doesn't make for a sort of creative discussion on how to bring some more vibrancy to the waterfront. So perhaps in the future.
Thank you. There's some others that...
No, just to add information, something that's very paramount about this location, I talked about the one person. More importantly, this is the only location that the city owns that is serviceable land. And as I mentioned, it is the only piece of property. Everything else is federally owned. That's how the idea got triggered. Every idea starts with one person, by the way. The splash pad apparently was started by one person who brought the idea to Christina.
Thanks, Keith. Phil, we're going to give those who wish to make other general comments that weren't covered by the small group activity, you will have a chance now. So Bill asked first, he's going first.
I really don't.
He doesn't like the mic.
You'll be able to hear me over there. You have the opportunity here in Cornwall to build all the condos we need for quite a while on the old arena site. And stay the heck off the water. The other point I'd like to make is Point Moline. I'm not sure why it was shelved by this 2011 Waterfront Committee, but it was shelved while a subcommittee was working with the consultant group out of Ottawa and with administration. And if they want to know something, and frankly, I don't know if they even know the history. There's history going back into the 1700s on Point Moline. And frankly, if asked, I'd be, and others will be prepared to talk to this waterfront group, 2011, and clue them in as to what was proposed, how far we went, and the history, because it doesn't seem they know anything about history on Point Moline.